In the cold winter night, snow was falling all over the sky. A fat boy was running hurriedly on the deserted road. He wanted to see his lover to say goodbye for the last time. Before she left this beautiful city to move to Seoul to live, his heavy footsteps walked as if he wanted to hold on to the love of the young couple. The meeting place was a remote motel in the suburbs. The boy walked in, panting, calling out the name of Kang Hee, the girl he had loved for a long time. From that dark room, a gentle voice rang out. Kang Hee was sitting on the stairs waiting for her boyfriend to come. The two of them went to a more private room to talk. Kang Hee really wanted her boyfriend to leave with her, but he was confused and apologized. Kang Hee also understood that he couldn't leave his grandfather here alone and go with her, so she didn't hesitate to touch her boyfriend's fat belly and asked if he was over 100 kilos. This made Yeon-soo extremely embarrassed. After that, Kang Hee seriously suggested that Yeon-soo sleep with her. She also said that he always thought about her every time he went to bed. Hearing that, Yeon-soo immediately covered his ears and said that he didn't hear anything. But Kang Hee continued to say that she knew there were condoms in his wallet. Yeon-soo said that she clearly gave them to him. She also said that they were promotional items for this motel. Kang Hee boldly suggested that the two of them use them today. After saying that, Kang Hee touched Yeon-soo's fat belly again, but he didn't cooperate and stood up and announced that he was leaving. Unexpectedly, Kang Hee pulled Yeon-soo back and asked if she left, he would meet another girl and sleep with her, right? Kang Hee was young, so she didn't want to give the man she loved to another woman. So Kang Hee took the initiative to kiss Yeon-soo on the lips. A man's instinct could not resist such a beautiful girl. Yeon-soo asked if he slept with Kang Hee, would she leave again? But Kang Hee still insisted that she would go. Kang Hee would go to a place where no one knew her. Yeon-soo then said that everything on her face was beautiful. Kang Hee continued to ask Yeon-soo if she wanted to sleep with her. Yeon-soo didn't say anything but responded with actions. After that, the two began to take off their clothes. Yeon-soo also took the initiative to unbutton Kang Hee's shirt. She looked at her boyfriend's warm face with regret and told him not to lose weight and not to take off his glasses in front of others. Yeon-soo didn't hesitate any longer and just used a kiss to cover up the words of first love. After the young couple had given each other their most precious things, Yeon-soo gave Kang Hee an small envelope and said that her father wanted him to give it to her. Kang Hee opened it suspiciously and saw a lot of money inside, along with a handwritten letter from her father telling her to remember to use birth control wherever she went. Yeon-soo was so surprised that she burst out laughing. She didn't expect that the unexpected birth that year would make her father worry so much. After that, Kang Hee was quickly taken to the bus station by Yeon-soo. She really had to leave tonight. The farewell bus finally slowly rolled away. Yeon-soo sat sadly on the bench for a long time, while Kang Hee pretended that nothing had happened. She tried to look happy and got on the bus. When Yeon-soo realized that the girl he had liked for so many years was about to leave, he tightly held the can of soda she had given him and hurriedly ran after the car until her figure disappeared. In the first snow of the season, in 2013, 15 years passed quickly. The boy Yeon-soo, who weighed over 100 kilograms in the past, has now become a handsome man that many girls love. He is currently a veterinarian who helps people with livestock farming, the owner of the cow farm. Seeing that Yeon-soo still doesn't have a girlfriend, jokingly said that in return for Yeon-soo helping him today, he would introduce Yeon-soo to a girl. But Yeon-soo immediately refused and expressed that he already had someone in his heart. Yeon-soo goes to Seoul every weekend because of her. When the farm owner asked what the girl did for a living, Yeon-soo just smiled and didn't answer. At this time in Seoul, the girl in the story was at a construction site. Kang Hee did hard work to make a living. She was also teased and ridiculed by her superior here. He thought that she was a person with a degree but could not do anything. But Kang Hee was not someone who could be bullied easily. She strongly protested and then angrily quit her job. At this time, a woman witnessed the whole thing. She approached Kang Hee and gave her a business card. The woman introduced herself as Hwang Jung-gu. She was a construction supervisor and director of Moment Design Company. She asked Kang Hee if she wanted to return to design work because she was an insider and knew that Kang Hee had worked at a design company. However, Kang Hee was not paid by the company and was blacklisted in the industry. Therefore, Kang Hee could not find a job anywhere and had to work temporarily at the construction site. But Kang Hee only refused the offer and said that she did not graduate from a prestigious school, so her application had been rejected by Moment's HR department before. Kang Hee hoped that Jung-gu would not give her more hope and then disappoint her again. However, Jung-gu tried to convince Kang Hee to come under her name this time. If Kang Hee was treated unfairly, Jung Jong-gu would protect her. Because of this persuasion, Kang Hee decided to try again. Kang Hee brought her project documents to the company with a very confident demeanor. However, when the receptionist heard Kang Hee's name, she immediately showed a bad attitude. She whispered sarcastically to the person on the other end of the phone. She said that Jong-gu was fired from the construction site and also tried to bring a former manual laborer here. Each sarcastic sentence severely hurt Kang Hee's self-esteem. Feeling disrespected, Kang Hee angrily picked up her bag and left. While walking on the street, Kang Hee vaguely saw Yeon-su's warm figure. She stared at that illusion for a long time and suddenly felt a great motivation. She shouted loudly that she would return to that company because she was Kang Hee. After that, Kang Hee was determined to return to Moment Company and put on a sharp smoky eye makeup. She put on a fearless look to face the receptionist who had just mocked her. Kang Hee confidently said that even though Jong-gu knew that I was just a common laborer, she was still curious about my abilities, and she even personally invited me here, so you will know what my abilities are after today. After saying that, Kang Hee resolutely went straight to the director's office. She saw Director Hwang enthusiastically practicing boxing to improve her physical strength. After settling down, Director Hwang immediately looked closely at Kang Hee's design file. Director Hwang happily expressed her admiration for Kang Hee's professional skills. She then took Kang Hee to meet the design manager. However, the manager did not value Kang Hee's college education. He also criticized her for doing manual labor at construction sites. Therefore, he firmly refused and said that he would prioritize the application of a candidate who had returned from studying abroad. Director Hwang was not satisfied and used reasoning to convince the manager to trust her once. She even said that she would hand over her luxury villa design project to Kang Hee. The manager reluctantly agreed on the condition that Kang Hee would be a short-term intern for 3 months. After that, they would discuss further depending on her ability. Kang Hee was very surprised and cherished this precious opportunity. Kang Hee even shyly ran after Director Hwang and asked if he liked me. This question made her laugh. She said that she only values talented people and her sexual orientation is that she only likes men. On this side, Yeon-su is taking advantage of her vacation to go to Seoul as a habit. Yeon-su's best friend Han-woo also feels a bit lamented when he sees this. Han-woo says that Yeon-su shouldn't think that if she keeps going to Seoul, she will accidentally meet Kang Hee. Seoul has a population of 10 million people. Han-woo asks what Yeon-su plans to do next after meeting her again. Yeon-su doesn't know how to answer this question. The next day, Kang Hee follows the department head to meet the owner of the luxury villa project. The department head is very neat and plans to use expensive materials to affirm the owner's class. On the contrary, Kang Hee thinks that they need to meet the person living in this villa and design the house according to the owner's wishes. Why make the owner adapt to the house? The tycoon Seok-kyung immediately agreed when he heard that, because this house was a gift he wanted to give to his 2 friends. So what Kang Hee said was very much to his liking, but the manager was not happy with this proposal. He only blamed Kang Hee for making things more complicated and that she did not understand the company's working process. Kang Hee ignored the warning and insisted on staying to wait for the client's consultation. While waiting, Kang Hee went to buy a cup of coffee. With Seok-kyung, coincidentally, Yeon-su was also at this coffee shop. He looked at Kang Hee's back in surprise for a long time. Han-woo heard the news and quickly pulled Yeon-su to chase after her, but Kang Hee's figure had long since disappeared. Kang Hee had returned to the villa. Only then did she know about the complicated relationship between the young master and the other couple. It turned out that Seok-kyung had an engagement with Esther. However, because he had no feelings for this fiancé, he objected by running away from home. Thanks to that, Esther met her current partner. To congratulate the couple, Seok-kyung gave them this villa. After understanding the situation, Kang Hee began to consult. She carefully listened to the homeowner's ideas and preferences. From there, she sketched in her head the space that the client liked and really needed. Esther was very satisfied and immediately approved the idea. Kang Hee started working hard to complete the design, but the Tizu department head did not take her seriously. He bluntly criticized her and said that she did not understand the world of the rich, because a manual worker like her could not know what class was. In the end, Kang Hee's design was officially rejected. On the contrary, Director Hwang really liked Kang Hee's design, so the department head and Director Hwang had a conflict. The department head argued that Kang Hee's design was like the design of a B-class motel. It looked old-fashioned and cheap, but somehow Director Hwang found it beautiful. Kang Hee accidentally heard it and went straight in. She took off her name tag and openly criticized the department head that if she was B-class, he was just a bottom class. She exposed that all the beautiful things in his database were copied from the best of others. He even blatantly blatantly stole the designs of his team members, including hers. After venting her anger, Kang Hee declared that she would quit her job. Then, in the bustling crowd on the street, Kang Hee saw Yeon-soo's warm figure appear again. But this time, Kang Hee just coldly passed by. She couldn't face him when she gave up everything in her hometown and ended up as a lonely failure like this. Kang Hee sadly looked at the falling snow in front of her and remembered her childhood. Now, many years have passed. Yeon-soo still eats exactly 10 falling snowflakes. He still wants to marry his first love. Not long after, Yeon-soo's grandfather passed away. Many of Yeon-soo's friends came to his funeral. Everyone was talking about Kang Hee. Among them, the group of friends who played together with the two of them even guessed that Kang Hee would definitely return to attend the funeral this time because her relationship with Yeon-soo's grandfather was very good. Hanwoo thought that it was best if Kang Hee didn't return. He didn't want Yeon-soo to see Kang Hee again at all, because if they did, Kang Hee would only give Yeon-soo more hope and then disappoint him. Suddenly, the crowd became very noisy. Everyone said that Kang Hee had returned. Yeon-soo heard it and hurriedly walked over and hugged her first love, whom she had missed for 10 years, tightly. Looking at the figure in front of her, Kang Hee was surprised and wanted to push him away, but she recognized Yeon-soo's voice and was extremely surprised by his figure. After saying goodbye to Yeon-soo's grandfather, Kang Hee also hurriedly left. She did not stay to talk to him anymore and did not greet her old friends. Kang Hee went far away but still remembered the gossip about her behind. It turned out that the parents here kept saying bad things behind Kang Hee's back. They said that the older she got, the more her mixed race features faded. They wondered if her personality was still as fierce as before. They were also worried that she would go crazy and fight again. At this time, Yeon-soo ran after Kang Hee and held her back, hoping that she would stay for a meal. After thinking for a while, Kang Hee decided to stay. Kang Hee happily made peace with Ah Rome, even though her best friend was still angry about her leaving 10 years ago. However, as soon as Kang Hee sat down, she heard a hateful guy nearby laughing at her. He even called the group of friends she used to play with a motel gang. This caused unpleasant memories to suddenly flood back into Kang Hee's mind. Now, more than 10 years have passed, and Kang Hee's strong personality has not changed. She calmly found a seat across from Hyeon-yeol and reminded him of the story of him being struck by lightning when he was young. Hyeon-yeol pretended to be calm and asked about Kang Hee's current job. She didn't say much, just showed him the business card of Moment Company. She revealed that she was working at a leading company in the design industry. The international class motels he knew were all managed by her company. Hyeon-yeol heard that and immediately sarcastically said that people in Baekth, Seoul, were no better than others. On the surface, everyone looked beautiful, but in reality, they lived cramped and poor. Kang Hee said that she was better than those who only knew how to spend their parents' money and make other people's daughters pregnant and drop out of school. Hyeon-yeol was so angry that he threw water straight at Kang Hee's face. She was not amused either, pouring a bowl of noodles on his head. Then she turned around and left comfortably. Because he was so angry, Hyeon-yeol angrily threw a bottle of wine in Kang Hee's direction. But luckily, Yeon-soo appeared in time and took her place. Yeon-soo also hit Hyeon-yeol, causing the funeral to gradually become chaotic. Yeon-soo's mother blamed Kang Hee for being rude. At someone else's funeral, she was acting so recklessly, but Yeon-soo did not agree with his mother. He thought it was Hyeon-yeol's fault, not Kang Hee's. But his mother did not want to say more. She only forbade her son from interacting with Kang Hee anymore. It was already late at night here, so Kang Hee had no choice but to head towards her family's California vacation home. Then she stopped for a long time in front of the door without entering. Memories of the first snow day of 2013 suddenly came back to her mind. Before going to the bus station with Yeon-soo, Kang Hee turned her head to look at this house for a long time. She told him that if she continued to stay at this motel, her future would become darker and darker like it. Maybe this place is good for him, but not for her. From now on, she will not come back here again. Returning to the present, Kang Hee decided to leave her hometown that night. She accepted to return to reality with a small and dark rented room. The next morning, Kang Hee received a call from Sok-kyung. He said that Esther was very satisfied with the design, and the two wanted to meet Kang Hee to discuss further. Kang Hee originally thought that the client did not know clearly about her resignation, so she quickly refused and hung up. However, when she sobered up, Kang Hee remembered the story when she was drunk a few days ago. She got drunk and called Sok-kyung to her place. After that, she confided to her partner that she could actually design the way the manager wanted, but it was too predictable and had no style or passion in it. Now she regretted regrets a little for not doing so, but after thinking carefully, she thought her decision was correct. Kan-hee even laughed crazily in front of So-kyung. Now thinking back to her nonsense words, Kan-hee was so humiliated that she wanted to find a place to hide. At that moment, Director Hwang called to meet Kan-hee. When she arrived at the company, she found that the receptionist's attitude towards her had suddenly changed. Director Hwang also brought Kan-hee some great news. It turned out that after Kan-hee angrily quit her job, the department head had invited young master So-kyung and Esther to the office to present his design to the homeowner. However, the two guests did not pay any attention to the department head's design. They only appreciated Kan-hee's design. The two even wanted to invite Kan-hee to be the main designer for their luxury villa. The department head was embarrassed and had no choice but to humble himself to meet Director Hwang to beg. He hoped that she would invite Kan-hee back to work. He even promised to make Kan-hee a full-time employee. Later, when he faced Kan-hee, the head of the department's arrogant attitude changed. He wanted Kan-hee to consider returning to Moment Company, but Kan-hee only gently replied that she had recently realized that life was short, so she needed to work with people she loved. After saying that, Kan-hee turned around and left with great confidence. This made even Director Hwang admire her. After that, Kan-hee decided to take advantage of the opportunity as a freelance designer to sell the design to So-kyung. The young master did not disappoint Kan-hee. He immediately paid her a large sum of money. Although Kan-hee was happy inside, she resolutely refused to accept the money. She expressed that her talent being recognized was much more important than money. This attitude of Kan-hee conquered Esther, the owner of the villa. She even wanted to befriend Kang-hee and invited Kang-hee to her private wedding. A while after, returning to her room, Kan-hee received a call from Ah-rom. Ah-rom happily said she was going to Seoul and asked if she could stay at Kan-hee's place. Kan-hee lied that she had to go on a business trip and wouldn't be in Seoul for a while. Ah-rom didn't expose the truth, but she knew that Kan-hee was hiding something. Ah-rom told Yeon-soo that she called Kang-hee's company, but the company said there was no employee named Kang-hee. Yeon-soo didn't think much of it and just believed that Kang-hee had her own troubles. Yeon-soo comforted Ah-rom and told her to sympathize with Kang-hee. Not long after, Kang-hee attended the bride Esther's wedding. Kang-hee saw Esther in a beautiful wedding dress and couldn't help but imagine herself walking down the aisle with the groom Yeon-soo by her side. After regaining her senses, Kang-hee started to congratulate Esther. Then Kang-hee said goodbye and left the wedding. As soon as Kang-hee stepped out into the hall, she ran into Director Hwang. Director Hwang announced that she had officially quit her job at her old company. Therefore, she really wanted to invite Kang-hee to work for her. Director Hwang seriously told Kang-hee to consider this offer. A moment later, while Kang-hee was still focused on drawing the design of the space in front of her, she suddenly caught So-kyung's eye. So-kyung politely invited Kang-hee to attend the wedding party tonight, but Kang-hee quickly refused because today was not only Christmas, but also a special day for Kang-hee. Her memories took her back to the years before. Every year, Kang-hee's father personally goes to Seoul to meet her to celebrate her birthday. He even combines his lunar birthday with her solar birthday. He said that this would be their date. Even though they are far apart, they must celebrate their birthday together. Kang-hee suddenly wakes up and receives a birthday greeting call from Ah-rom. Kang-hee happily thanks her. They talk for a while. Then, the conversation turns to Yeon-soo. Ah-rom just tells Kang-hee to ask about him herself. Then Ah-rom reveals that Yeon-soo seems to be going on a date tonight. Kang-hee feels empty when she hears that. She decides to call Yeon-soo immediately, but unfortunately, there is a girl's voice on the other end of the line. Kang-hee is disappointed and quickly ends the call, making Yeon-soo feel very regretful. Then Kang-hee receives a call from her father. He happily tells her that he will send her the address tonight. Just like every year, Kang-hee was in a bad mood, so she just wanted to refuse. She lied that she would celebrate this day with her boyfriend this year, but her father, who understood her daughter's personality, just said that if she already had a boyfriend, she should bring him to see him. Before Kang-hee could say anything more, her father hung up. That night, Kang-hee went to the meeting place alone. There, Kang-hee coincidentally met So-kyung. A moment later, Kang-hee suddenly asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend. She said that there was a man who wanted to claim ownership of her, and she wanted him to help her end it. So-kyung did not refuse. He even let her hug him intimately to pretend to be a real couple. However, after arriving, Kang-hee soon regretted it because the person in the room was not her father, but her first love, Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo also immediately recognized the man next to Kang-hee. It turned out that 10 years ago, not long after Kang-hee left her hometown, Yeon-soo often came to Seoul to look for her. He searched in vain, but finally accidentally saw her working at a convenience store. At that time, she was arguing with the boss about unpaid wages. At that time, So-kyung was a customer who happened to pass by and heard the story. Seeing the injustice, Seok-kyung immediately stood up to help Kang-hee and taught the evil boss a lesson. A while later, Kang-hee also saw Yeon-soo, but her pride did not allow her to show weakness. Kang-hee walked up to her best friend and coldly told Yeon-soo to never come to Seoul to find her again. Yeon-soo saw the man standing next to Kang-hee from afar and was in a state of great turmoil. After that, Yeon-soo soon realized that all Seoul men were handsome and stylish. Even Han-woo said that two people from a poor countryside like them, looking for Kang-hee, would definitely make her feel embarrassed. That's why she chased them away like that. Thinking that Yeon-soo started to lose weight, he wanted to wait until he became handsome before meeting his first love again. From then on, he gave up soda and threw away all instant noodles and snacks. He persistently exercised with high intensity every day. Finally, thanks to his intense love, Yeon-soo successfully lost weight. Time passed quickly. Currently, with his handsome appearance, Yeon-soo thought he was worthy to be with Kang-hee. However, when he saw Kang-hee walking in with another man in her arms, Yeon-soo's face immediately became disappointed. Realizing that, Kang-hee quickly pulled Seok-kyung away. Seok-kyung was very confused, but then he smiled and gave Kang-hee his business card. He said he wanted to invite her to join the design team of his motel. Kang-hee didn't say anything but resolutely turned around and left. She also angrily called her father to confront him, but her father explained that Yeon-soo had something important to tell her, so he did that. Kang-hee did not accept her father's explanation. She coldly asserted that her father had just ruined their last Christmas together. Kang-hee then decisively hung up. At the same time, Yeon-soo was still sitting alone and sad at the motel. When he opened the door to leave, he saw Kang-hee. She immediately threw herself into his arms, which surprised him. After that, he made her a cup of hot tea and honestly expressed his thoughts. He had eaten the first 10 snowflakes of the season and had prepared everything to be with her forever. He could also go to Seoul to live with her. Kang-hee was embarrassed and avoided Yeon-soo's eyes. He also took out a necklace to give her for her birthday, but Kang-hee pretended to be angry and said that he should have given this to his girlfriend. Yeon-soo conveniently affirmed that he had no one else, that he would only like her in this life. Hearing that, Kang-hee could not deny her excitement. She stood in front of the mirror, putting on the necklace, her face unable to hide her shyness and blushing. Yeon-soo walked closer to Kang-hee and gently took her hand. He looked at her with eyes full of love and even intended to kiss her. But just then his phone suddenly rang. The caller was Yeon-soo's mother. While waiting for Yeon-soo to answer the phone, Kang-hee began to recall the painful memories of the past. She remembered the neighbors around the village where she used to live. She remembered the sarcastic words and contemptuous looks of everyone, including Yeon-soo's mother. Those thoughts caused Kang-hee's attitude to suddenly change. Kang-hee turned back to tell Yeon-soo that she remembered the reason why she had to leave home, as well as why they could not be together. Kang-hee then quickly took off the necklace and returned it to Yeon-soo. She tried to act strong and said that in the future he should give this to his girlfriend. Then she resolutely turned around and left. Yeon-soo painfully said that if she left today, he would not wait for her anymore. However, Kang-hee still resolutely walked forward. Although she acted cold, as soon as she reached the lobby, Kang-hee burst into tears. She believed that if she could not take responsibility for someone else's life, she should not make them wait any longer. Kang-hee just walked alone in the cold night. At this time, Yeon-soo was at the police station to bail out his mother and stepfather. It turned out that his mother had been beaten by her new husband, to the point that the neighbors had to call the police to arrest this man. However, Yeon-soo's mother still blindly justified that her husband was like that only when he was drunk, and that on normal days he was naturally gentle and affectionate. Yeon-soo advised her mother a lot, but she wouldn't listen. She still felt very happy being with this man. Another year passed. The poor countryside was still bustling and warm. Kang-hee was alone in cold Seoul, only knowing how to hide in a small rented room. On the morning of the first day of the new year, Kang-hee had to eat dry bread to continue living. After that, she quickly went to find Director Wang to apply for a job. She offered Kang-hee a salary of 30 million won to work for her company. Kang-hee was very satisfied with this offer. However, when Kang-hee heard that the niche market was the motel design field, she immediately refused and left. As soon as she reached the door, Kang-hee immediately called Seok-kyung and asked him about the previous cooperation offer, but coincidentally, he was also nearby. At the same time, he also had the same reasoning as Director Huang, wanting to renovate the motel. The two of them also planned to build a famous company in this industry together. He curiously asked Kang-hee why she agreed to the motel offer, but not the motel. Kang-hee was unhappy and said that as the son of a motel owner, he wouldn't wouldn't understand. Only the daughter of a motel owner would deeply understand this. She had lived in a motel since she was young, and what did she have to endure? When others looked at her, a motel is not really a place to rest. It is just a place for people to hide and hide. Kang Hee still firmly refused to cooperate. But that night, Kang Hee received 50 million won transferred by Seok Kyung. After that, Esther personally came to Kang Hee's front door to find her to confide in. A while later at a cozy bar, Esther did not directly mention work, but focused on encouraging Kang Hee. She praised Kang Hee for her successes. Esther also sincerely listened to Kang Hee's deepest desires. Kang Hee honestly shared her burning dream. She wanted to one day build a company with her name on it. She also wanted to have a nice house right next to the company where she could enjoy her own private space. Esther responded with understanding that in order to make that dream come true, she thought Kang Hee needed to choose her partners wisely. According to Esther, Director Huang was a prestigious and reputable person in the industry. Seok Kyung had abundant financial resources, and Esther was always someone Kang Hee could trust. Finally, Esther made a sincere offer that she hoped Kang Hee would join her in building this company. She didn't do it for anything else but Kang Hee's own dream. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo's mother was rushing to sell the family hospital building. When Yeon-soo heard the news, he immediately ran over and firmly stopped the sale. He invited the people who came to see the house and his stepfather out. He told his mother that he had promised his grandfather that he would never sell the building. His mother complained that she needed money to maintain her life because she had returned the rented house after the incident at the police station. Yeon-soo looked at his mother helplessly and asked her to come live with him, but his mother immediately refused, saying that she had just gotten married. So how could she live with him? Yeon-soo had no choice but to give in and tell his mother to just move in, and he would temporarily move somewhere else. He then quickly packed up and moved to Motel California. On this side, Kang Hee started a new journey in her career when she joined a design company. Under the guidance of director Wang, Kang Hee actively contributed her opinions and expertise. She and the members of the team built the foundation for her long-standing dream. One day, Seok Kyung and Kang Hee went to survey an old motel together to plan a renovation. While examining the space, the two of them unexpectedly witnessed a hot scene. Hyun-yeol was hugging and kissing a girl in the elevator. After that, as soon as he returned, Hyun-yeol told his friends about this. Hyun-yeol said that Kang Hee went to the motel with a strange man during the day. Hyun-yeol also sarcastically said that he was not surprised that Kang Hee was that kind of girl. After all, her family ran a motel, so she was like that. That's why family education is very important. Yeon-soo couldn't keep calm when he heard these words. Yeon-soo grabbed Hyun-yeol by the collar and threatened that if you dared to say anything bad about Kang Hee again, I would beat you to death. Although Yeon-soo had deterred the hateful person, he was still sad. In the following days, Kang Hee was assigned the role of managing a new project. Director Huang assigned Kang Hee a big responsibility, so her enthusiasm was overflowing. However, when Kang Hee knew that the project location was Hana-up, which was also her hometown, all the positive emotions in her suddenly disappeared. So in the following days, Kang Hee tried every way to avoid the offer to Hana-up. Kang Hee even ignored Director Huang's promise to double her commission. Kang Hee also used the excuse that she had an appointment to refuse to continue talking to Director Huang. Standing from afar, hearing that Kang Hee had an appointment, Seok Kyung couldn't help but worry. He secretly followed her, but he found out that the date that Kang Hee was talking about was a girl. This person was none other than Ah Rom. Seok Kyung knew that he had misunderstood Kang Hee, so he quickly went to help her. He even enthusiastically wanted to help Kang Hee's best friend carry her luggage into the house. Then Kang Hee shared about her current life. She was really living well now. This house was also the company's dormitory. She was also one of the founders of the company. Ah Rom was very happy for Kang Hee. Ah Rom also curiously asked about the current relationship between Kang Hee and the enthusiastic guy from earlier. Because Ah Rom could confirm that he liked Kang Hee, the conversation turned to Yeon-soo again. Ah Rom revealed that he had met someone suitable, a junior from the same school. It seemed that they were also thinking about getting married. Hearing this news, Kang Hee tried to hide the sadness in her heart, but her eyes could not hide it. At this time, Yeon-soo was teaching his junior Nan Woo to drive a pickup truck at her request. While practicing driving, Nan Woo Yeon-soo almost crashed into a car going in the opposite direction. She was so scared that she couldn't get out of the driver's seat by herself. So Yeon-soo kindly hugged her out of the car to calm her down. But the people who got out of the car on the other side were Kang-hee and Seok-kyung. Kang-hee saw Yeon-soo hugging another girl. She smiled and quickly turned around to leave, but in fact her eyes were red. Not long before, Kang-hee had a haunting dream. Yeon-soo had a big and happy wedding with his junior. Kang-hee also clearly saw that the other girl only cared about Yeon-soo's assets. In the panic of the dream, Kang-hee rushed to grab her hair, but when Kang-hee woke up, she found that she was holding Ah-rom's hair. Kang-hee realized that she still had feelings for her first love. Kang-hee decided to go to the company and proactively asked to work at Hana-Yup. Coincidentally, Director Hwang was injured and could not go there in person, so Kang-hee took this opportunity to officially accept the project. Kang-hee and Seok-kyung went to Hana-Yup. The two of them wore designer clothes and drove an expensive car to go back to their hometown. Regret. When getting in the car, Kang-hee carefully told Seok-kyung not to call her by her name. Seok-kyung was also very considerate when she decided to call Kang-hee boss throughout the trip. After that, the two of them quickly arrived at Hana-Yup, but Kang-hee was surprised when she realized that the place she was going to was her family's California motel. Although she was a bit surprised, Kang-hee still had to stay calm. She quickly covered herself and pretended not to know anyone. However, how could a father not recognize his beloved daughter? Chun-pil tried to hold back his laughter and not reveal anything. Then Seok-kyung spoke first. He came up with a novel idea to erase the boundary between motel and hotel. They just needed to remove the letter M from the word motel, and the new brand name would be Hotel California. Kang-hee also suggested building a swimming pool on the top floor and moving the bar in the basement up there. Hearing this, Kang-hee's father was deeply moved. The designs his daughter had just described were their old dreams. Chun-pil had almost forgotten about this, but Kang-hee still remembered it clearly. He shook hands with his daughter and decided to hand over the design project to her company. Kang-hee didn't say anything and just walked out quietly. Memories quickly returned to her mind. Back then, Chun-pil often turned off the light of the letter M in the word motel because he had told his daughter that his biggest wish was to build a hotel. So when he removed the letter M, people would only see it as hotel. At that time, there was no longer any distance between motel and hotel. Currently, Motel Boomerang is also a new construction project of Chun-pil's family. Kang-hee and Seok-kyung personally visited the construction site. The construction manager immediately suggested that the two of them should stay at Motel California across the street because this place was a great place to rest. It was close, clean, and the breakfast was delicious. However, Kang-hee shook her head and said that staying nearby was a bit inconvenient, so they quickly left. On the way to another place to stay, they almost collided with a truck going in the opposite direction. When Kang-hee looked closely, she discovered that the person getting out of the opposite car was Yeon-soo, and a strange girl. Yeon-soo immediately let go of the girl in her arms and hurriedly chased after Kang-hee. Yeon-soo asked Kang-hee with concern what she was doing here. Kang-hee frankly said that she would be here for work until Christmas, and she told him not to reveal her return to anyone. Then she left in a bad mood. Seeing Kang-hee sadly walking on the street, Seok-kyung realized that Yeon-soo was Kang-hee's first love. But Kang-hee replied that Yeon-soo was not only her first love, but also the person who saved her life. Memories began to take Kang-hee back to her elementary school years. When they grew up, Yeon-soo confessed to Kang-hee and said that he had liked her since the first day they sat at the same desk. Even though he knows he's ugly and has many shortcomings, he will try to improve. Hearing that, Kang-hee pinched Yeon-soo's cheeks and affirmed that he wasn't ugly or lacking at all. She also called him a silly bear. Kang-hee thought that if Yeon-soo wasn't in her life, then whether she was 10 or 20, everything would be a mess. Hearing that, Seok-kyung joked that he would find the people who bullied Kang-hee in the past to deal with them. Hearing that, Kang-hee couldn't help but laugh. Although Kang-hee had told Yeon-soo not to say anything about her return, Hana-Yup was small and news spread easily. The women at the hair salon were always gossiping. They guessed that the reason Kang-hee suddenly returned to her hometown was because of Chun-pil or because of the motel. Boomerang was also her family's business. The hair salon owner also said that she didn't understand why Chun-pil got rich so quickly. Whoever marries Kang-hee in the future will definitely be happy. Yeon-soo's mother, who was sitting nearby, heard these words and said nothing. Ah-rom quickly revealed to them that Kang-hee's boyfriend was even more amazing. He was a returned international student who was not only handsome and young, but also the heir to a chain of high-end hotels in Seoul. This This information made the people around them admire. Meanwhile, Kang Hee and Seo Kyung were tiredly looking for a place to rest after a long day of work at the construction site. Although they had been in Hanayup for a few days, their experience was always miserable. If it wasn't the musty smell of the blankets or the unpleasant rusty smell of the shower water, then the noisy guests made it impossible for Seo Kyung to sleep. In the end, Seo Kyung bravely suggested that the two of them stay at the California motel, but Kang Hee firmly shook her head and refused. She would rather drink rusty water than set foot there. At the California motel, the workers were talking about the new female supervisor. They said that although this girl was difficult, she was very generous. If they did well, she would reward them a lot. Yeon-soo heard and knew that this person was Kang Hee. Han-woo was curious if the person accompanying her was her boyfriend. Han-won hoped that it wasn't because there were rumors that he was a gambling addict and that he often went to drug farms. This made Yeon-soo even more worried and uneasy. Meanwhile, Kang Hee secretly went to Yeon-soo's veterinary hospital after work to meet the female doctor, Nan-woo. Kang Hee looked closely and had to admit that this girl was very beautiful. Nan-woo thought that Kang Hee was a customer coming to consult on adopting a pet, so Nan-woo invited her to sit down and drink chrysanthemum tea. Nan-woo also said that although the owner here never drank tea, he often bought expensive chrysanthemum tea just for a friend. Kang Hee suddenly understood that the friend being mentioned was her. After that, Nan-woo kept praising Yeon-soo. She thought he was a trustworthy and dependable man. When Kang Hee saw the photo of Yeon-soo and Nan-woo taken together in front of the hospital gate, she was silent for a long time, and her eyes gradually became sad. At this time, Yeon-soo was driving a pickup truck following Seo Kyung's car. Yeon-soo witnessed Seo Kyung stopping the car on the side of the road to rescue a small dog that was stuck. Yeon-soo also went to help and promised to treat the dog. In return for the help, Yeon-soo wanted to ask Seo Kyung a question. Is Kang Hee often wearing glasses because of a black eye? Seo Kyung laughed and affirmed that Kang Hee is not the type of person who can stand being bullied. When Yeon-soo returned to the hospital, Nan-woo accidentally showed him a video of a customer petting a cat at the hospital. Yeon-soo recognized the guest in the video as Kang Hee. He rushed to the construction site to find her, but she wasn't there. He asked Arom, but she didn't reveal anything. Kang Hee was actually hiding in a bar. She was drinking while thinking about Nan-woo. To be fair, this girl had nothing to complain about, and she even got along well with Yeon-soo. Thinking of this, Kang Hee could only drink and cry. At the same time, Yeon-soo was watching the video about the cat again and received news that Kang Hee was at the bar. He immediately went there. Kang Hee was so drunk that she fell asleep on Yeon-soo's lap. She even found a comfortable position on his lap. Yeon-soo had to work hard to control herself. That night, Yeon-soo had no choice but to carry Kang Hee back to the California motel. Yeon-soo carefully covered her with a blanket. However, Kang Hee suddenly grabbed his shirt and told him not to leave. Yeon-soo didn't leave and chose to stay by her side. Kang Hee opened her eyes dreamily and pinched Yeon-soo's cheeks. She also called him a silly fat bear. She blamed him for not keeping his promise. Why did he lose weight and take off his glasses? And why did he go on a date with another girl? Yeon-soo also heartbrokenly blamed her for finding another man. At this time, Seo Kyung was worried because Kang Hee had not returned, so he searched everywhere and even went to the police station to report. When he received news that Kang Hee was taken to a California motel by a gang, Seo Kyung became even more panicked. He immediately came here and shouted for her. Witnessing this scene, Yeon-soo hurriedly explained that this was Kang Hee's house and Chun Pil was her father. Hearing that, Seo Kyung was still suspicious for a long time. The next morning, Kang Hee woke up with a heavy head. She was embarrassed when she remembered the crazy things she had done last night. As soon as she opened the door, Kang Hee was startled to see Seo Kyung sitting slumped in front of the door. It turned out that there were only men around, so Seo Kyung had been sitting there last night to keep watch. Then the two of them went down to have breakfast together. After the workers and Seo Kyung left, Kang Hee sat down and chatted with her two close friends. She listened to the changes in the motel during the years she was away. After work, Seo Kyung took Kang Hee to Yeon-soo's veterinary hospital to visit the dog he had helped the day before. However, Kang Hee's eyes kept looking at Yeon-soo and Nan-woo. From Nan-woo, Kang Hee knew that the kitten at the hospital was named Kam Hee. The name Yeon-soo gave it was almost the same as hers. Kang Hee silently left with an indescribable sadness. On the way back, Seo Kyung commented that Yeon-soo and Nan-woo were a beautiful couple. Hearing that, Kang Hee felt extremely resentful. She went to an ice cream shop to relax, but there she saw Yeon-soo and Nan-woo happily buying ice cream together. Kan-hee quickly hid and found a hidden corner to remember the sweet memories with Yeon-soo 10 years ago. That day, the one who always joked and chose ice cream with him was Kan-hee. The one who acted spoiled with him was also her. Kan-hee stood up and left, then found a quiet corner to cry. Kan-hee cried and scolded Yeon-soo for being a bad person, saying that, who had said that from now on, whether eating ice cream in a box or ice cream, he would only eat it with her. At this moment, Yeon-soo suddenly appeared. Kan-hee angrily said that he had really changed. Just as Yeon-soo was about to go towards Kan-hee to explain, she forbade him from following her. But Yeon-soo felt that something was wrong, so he quietly followed Kan-hee all the way. Only when Kan-hee turned around did Yeon-soo quickly hide. However, when she didn't see Yeon-soo behind her, Kang-hee felt even more disappointed. She was sad and began to regret saying goodbye at the hotel. At this time, Seokkyung came to find her and saw Kang-hee in tears. Seokkyung took his limited edition sunglasses and put them on Kang-hee. Thanks to Seokkyung, Kang-hee finally stopped crying and smiled. But Yeon-soo, standing from afar, was a bit sad. When Yeon-soo returned to the motel, he put the box of ice cream he bought that morning on the reception desk and asked the receptionist to deliver it to Kang-hee. Yeon-soo talked to the cat Kam-hee that before, only he could comfort Kang-hee to make her happy. But now it seems different. Why did she say he had changed when he had only waited for her before? When he left the room, his friends brought a shirt with Kang-hee's name written on it and asked him to take one to wear. Because tonight, Chun-pil and his friends were planning to hold a party to welcome Kang-hee back. The red carpet was laid out on the rooftop. Friends happily welcomed Kang-hee back. As she sat with her old friends, memories of the past flashed before her eyes. Now Kang-hee asks about her grown-up friends one by one. When it was Yeon-soo's turn to share, he seemed very satisfied with his current life. He thought that inheriting his grandfather's veterinary hospital was extremely meaningful. Friends also asked Kang-hee about life in Seoul. Kang-hee hesitated to answer and quickly avoided going somewhere else. Then Ah-rom took the opportunity to remind Yeon-soo that Seok-kyung was already by Kang-hee's side. If Yeon-soo was moved, he might have to suffer more because of Kang-hee in the future. Kang-hee also told Seok-kyung about her past 10 years ago. She decided to leave her hometown and go to the capital. After that, she earned money by doing all kinds of jobs to get into a college. At that time, she thought she had lived her life to the fullest for her dream. But today, she saw that her friends were all living well in their hometown, and she was the only loser. Seok-kyung heard that and shouted loudly to cheer Kang-hee up. He said that she had lived very well. Seeing that, Kang-hee couldn't help but laugh. The next day, Nan-woo received a call from a customer. They asked her to come and examine their cow. They had no experience treating large animals. Nan-woo was extremely confused. Plus, she couldn't drive a pickup truck. Luckily, Kang-hee was nearby and helped in time. She even took the initiative to drive Nan-woo away. When they arrived at the farm, the owner was extremely worried when he saw that the female doctor seemed inexperienced. At that moment, Yeon-soo appeared and cooperated with Nam-woo to solve the problems. On the way back, Kang-hee couldn't help but remember the happy moments of the two of them just now. Kang-hee became even more depressed. She also accidentally saw a billboard advertising the upcoming beef festival. Returning to the hotel, Kang-hee expressed to Seok-kyung her concern that if the festival started, the road here would be temporarily blocked. For 4 days, concrete mixers would also not be able to enter the construction site, affecting the construction progress. Kang-hee also emphasized that she wanted to finish the project quickly so she could return to Seoul. But Yeon-soo accidentally heard this. Yeon-soo just secretly thought, what's so great about Seoul? Later, thanks to Ah-rom's story, Yeon-soo and her friends knew about Kang-hee's difficulties. In order to help Kang-hee, Yeon-soo had to hold a meeting with the villagers. He convinced everyone to change the location of the festival. He also promised to provide free medical treatment for the village's cows for a month. After Yeon-soo successfully convinced the villagers, he went to each farm to talk and persuade each owner. Kang-hee had no idea that Yeon-soo was trying to help her. She also went to each farm to try to persuade the farm owners to change the location of the festival. One of the farm owners was an old acquaintance of Kang-hee's. He had said bad things to her. Until now, he still holds a grudge from the past. This time, he asked Kang-hee to compensate and kneel down to apologize to him. Kang-hee didn't know what to do when suddenly Yeon-soo appeared and stood up to stop and pull Kang-hee away. However, Kang-hee refused his help. She angrily said that she didn't like him because he knew all about her past and the trauma in her. Just seeing him brought back unhappy memories that made her heartbroken. Not only Yeon-soo, Seok-kyung also helped Kang-hee by convincing the Senior Citizens Association. He volunteered to donate public funds and sponsor the celebration party after the beef festival ended. At the same time, Yeon-soo and his friends went to meet the traffic police and posted a notice to change the festival location. Every everything was considered done. Kang Hee was also very grateful to her friends. Later at the beef festival, Nanwoo held Yeon-soo's mother's arm and appeared in front of Kang Hee. Yeon-soo's mother did not hesitate to praise Nanwoo. She also said that Nanwoo was a gentle and agile girl. Everyone around also said that Yeon-soo and Nanwoo were a couple born for each other. Kang Hee could only smile awkwardly to congratulate Yeon-soo and his mother. Yeon-soo's mother thought Seok-kyung was Kang Hee's boyfriend, so she also congratulated Kang Hee on finding a suitable boyfriend. Seok-kyung was about to explain when Kang Hee pulled his hand away. After that, Kang Hee also asked Seok-kyung to pretend to be her boyfriend until the project was completed. But Seok-kyung did not agree and had one condition. When the festival gradually cooled down, Yeon-soo tried to approach Kang Hee with the desire to clearly explain the relationship between him and Nanwoo. However, Kang Hee did not seem to want to listen. She quickly interrupted him and mentioned the bad neighbors. At that moment, Nanwoo appeared with an innocent expression and talked to Kang Hee like two close sisters. She even hugged Kang Hee to thank for helping her a few days ago. Kang Hee was confused and found an excuse to leave. Kang Hee kept thinking about Nanwoo's innocence and felt extremely sad. Kang Hee secretly thought that maybe Nanwoo was the one who was really suitable for Yeon-soo. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo was also very tired about this. It turned out that he had talked seriously with Nanwoo before. He hoped that she would stop working at the hospital because rumors about the two of them were spreading everywhere. But Nanwoo did not agree. She even thought that they should pretend to date for a while longer. Because of that, she would not have to listen to reminders about going on blind dates. However, Yeon-soo did not want that. He frankly said that he liked someone else and was waiting for that person. Now that the festival was almost over, Yeon-soo's mother discovered that her newlywed husband was being intimate with another woman. She was so angry that she flipped the table and cursed him right there. He did not give up and cursed her back, causing the scene to gradually become chaotic. People stood around to watch. Kang Hee's father also stepped forward to advise. This scene accidentally caught Kang Hee's eyes. Suddenly, she remembered her mother's sickly face. Now, when talking privately with her father, Kang Hee wondered why her father had always been so nosy when it came to Yeon-soo's mother's affairs. It was the same more than 20 years ago. Her father kept thinking about her. But what about her mother and her unborn younger sibling? However, her father just remained silent like before. Kang Hee returned to the motel with sadness. At this time, the receptionist brought her a cup of ice cream without saying anything. Kang Hee ate a spoonful and realized that only Yeon-soo could buy this flavor of ice cream for her. Thinking of something, Kang Hee immediately went to Yeon-soo's room in the motel. His room was filled with pictures of the two of them when they were young. There was also a warm teddy bear that Kang Hee hated and wanted to sell. Looking at that teddy bear, memories from 10 years ago came back. Before leaving her hometown for Seoul, Kang Hee asked Yeon-soo to help her sell the teddy bear that her father gave her. The money could be used to take care of abandoned animals. Returning to the present, realizing that Yeon-soo probably never liked anyone else, Kang Hee ran everywhere looking for him. With hopeful eyes, she asked him why he kept treating her so well. Did he still like her? Unexpectedly, Yeon-soo said that being nice to her was the only thing he could do. If she doesn't want to, then consider this the last thing he does before he stops liking her. He hopes she will give him some time to forget her. After that, Kang Hee returned to the motel alone. Kang Hee angrily threw the ice cream box that Yeon-soo bought for her into the trash. She thought to herself that their relationship was really over. Why did she keep holding on to a faded feeling? That night, Kang Hee accepted Ah-rom's invitation to the restaurant to attend the class reunion. It was said that Seok-kyung generously paid for the entire party. He didn't even forget to leave his unlimited black card before leaving. In the noisy atmosphere of the class reunion, her classmates had the opportunity to mock Ah-rom. They criticized her over and over again. She went on countless dates but still couldn't find a decent guy. She was just a small librarian but kept dreaming of studying. What was the point of her studying for a master's degree and then a doctorate? Song Aeon, who was sitting nearby, couldn't stand it anymore, so he stood up and pulled Ah-rom away. Kang Hee didn't feel any better either. She didn't want to stay any longer. But as soon as Kang Hee returned to the motel, she saw Yeon-soo's mother there with Nanwoo. The villagers were gossiping about her son's marriage. Kang Hee was already unhappy, so she found a quiet place in front of the door to think alone. While Kang Hee was deep in thought, Nanwoo and Yeon-soo walked out. They still kept a cheerful and friendly attitude and greeted Kang Hee, but Kang Hee didn't want to respond. She silently went straight inside. On the way back, Nanwoo suddenly advised Yeon-soo to go find Kang-hee because she could see that Kang-hee was the girl Yeon-soo had always loved. Meanwhile, Kang-hee was still angry. She cleaned the bathroom while scolding him. Even though she knew she was wrong, he had liked her for 20 years, but couldn't he bear a few months of separation? She had a hard time living in Seoul. If he agreed to come to Seoul, she would of course start over with him, but he liked Nanwoo. At this moment, Yeon-soo returned to the hotel and heard Kang-hee talking to herself in the next room. He stood outside the door to eavesdrop, but unfortunately, he was noticed by the receptionist, so even though he didn't want to, he had to go into his room. But until midnight, Kang-hee still didn't stop talking. Yeon-soo in the next room thought that Kang-hee was on the phone talking to her boyfriend. He was annoyed thinking about the prospect of Kang-hee hugging So-kyung and introducing him as her husband. And Yeon-soo was just someone who belonged to Hanayup and the staff. Nanwoo So-kyung even fought with Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo woke up with a start and realized that he had had a dream last night. The next morning, Kang-hee came to So-kyung to return the bank card and reminded him not to do that again. Hearing that, So-kyung happily told her what happened yesterday. Yesterday, he made up a story. He said that she had lived very successfully in Seoul, and he had to pursue her for a long time to get her approval. As long as she agreed now, he would be willing to marry her. As a result, everyone's faces were filled with anger. So-kyung happily said that this time, as her boyfriend, he had helped her get revenge. It turned out that yesterday, Kang-hee had asked So-kyung to pretend to be her boyfriend, but So-kyung wanted him to be Kang-hee's official boyfriend until the project was completed, because only then would the two of them have a fair relationship. So in the present, So-kyung wanted to ask his official girlfriend out, but she just said she was very busy and refused. Kang-hee then searched for the mementos that Yeon-soo's grandfather had left her. Even though he was Yeon-soo's grandfather, to Kang-hee, he was no different from her grandfather. Every piece of paper and every line contained the love and blessings that he had given her. Kang-hee carefully put them in a box and then went to the veterinary hospital, hoping to see Nanwoo. However, Nanwoo seemed hesitant and evasive. She said that perhaps the answer Kang-hee was looking for was not within her. So, Kang-hee had to ask Yeon-soo directly about Nanwoo. Kang-hee really wanted to know if Nanwoo grew up in a happy and loving family. Yeon-soo nodded without hesitation. He said that it was probably true. Then Kang-hee invited Yeon-soo to visit his grandfather's grave. In front of his grave, Yeon-soo also had the opportunity to express his thoughts. He said that he could endure all the pain and resentment over the years. Only Kang-hee couldn't hold back his emotions. Kang-hee also honestly shared that she came here today to fulfill her promise to his grandfather. She took out a box of couple rings and told Yeon-soo that this was the gift that his grandfather wanted to give him. It turned out that 10 years ago, Yeon-soo's grandfather had given this ring box to Kang-hee. He hoped that she would give it to Yeon-soo's future girlfriend. Yeon-soo's grandfather also hoped that his granddaughter-in-law would be a girl who smiled a lot and grew up in a loving family. Now Kang-hee confessed that the real reason she came here was not for the project, but to see if Yeon-soo's girlfriend met the criteria that his grandfather had set. Kang-hee thought that a girl who smiled and was cute like Nanwoo would be truly suitable for Yeon-soo. As for her, she could never become that kind of girl. After saying that, Kang-hee forced a smile and turned away, but tears could not be held back and fell down her face. Perhaps her first love had really ended here. Kang-hee's words made Yeon-soo extremely heartbroken. Memories came back to him one by one. From the image of Kang-hee strongly leaving Hanayup 10 years ago, to her painful eyes in the present, every moment of Kang-hee's joy and sadness now returned to Yeon-soo's mind. He quickly stood up and ran after her, hugging her tightly from behind. He apologized, because now he truly understood the pain she had endured all these years. Kang-hee then confided that no matter how hard she tried, she could never become the girl his grandfather hoped for. That was also one of the reasons why she always tried to push him away. Yeon-soo realized that the ring was the cause of everything, so he immediately threw it into the river. Kang-hee panicked and jumped into the water to find the Mimam ring, but Yeon-soo quickly stopped her. He also admitted that he had no feelings for Nanwoo. Suddenly, Kang-hee lost her balance and Yeon-soo hugged her. Kang-hee was confused and pushed Yeon-soo into the river, making both of them wet. So on the way back, Yeon-soo had to take off his coat and put it on Kang-hee. At the same time, he began to explain that the rumors about his relationship with Nanwoo were just the villagers' speculation. Returning to her room, Kang-hee smiled involuntarily. When she remembered Yeon-soo's explanation, she confirmed that the person she loved still didn't have a girlfriend. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo looked at the photo of Kang-hee when she was young and imitated the innocent smile of the little girl in the photo. The next day, Kang-hee was surprised to see Director Hwang at the California motel. What surprised Kang Hee even more was that she was wearing a pair of beautiful high heels, even though she had just had her cast removed. Director Wang also said that today, she would meet a man named Chun Pil. Kang Hee was so surprised that she couldn't speak. Director Wang also told her that she had given this man's eldest daughter a very warm teddy bear. Hearing this, Kang Hee was completely shocked. After that, Kang Hee tried every way to badmouth the man named Chun Pil. Kang Hee thought that his reputation was nothing, and she hoped that Director Huang would reconsider. However, in Director Huang's eyes, Chun Pil had always been a luxurious and romantic gentleman. It wasn't until Sok Kyung told the truth that Director Huang knew that they were father and daughter, and she was also very surprised. Kang Hee angrily returned home with the intention of throwing away the teddy bear, but Yeon-soo suddenly appeared and stopped her. In anger, Kang Hee recounted the heartbreaking story from many years ago. At that time, because Chun Pil could not be found, her mother was taken to the hospital late, so she had a miscarriage and her sister was not born. Until now, Kang Hee still clearly remembers that terrible night. From that day on, Kang Hee started calling her father Chul Pil directly. She felt that he was just a womanizer and irresponsible. Kang Hee also told Yeon-soo that the woman next to her father on the night her sister died was his mother. Therefore, regardless of whether it was her father or his mother, she could not forgive them. Hearing these words, Yeon-soo remained silent and did not respond. Kang Hee also decided to return to Seoul with Director Wang. Yeon-soo stood in the room, hesitating for a long time, and finally he helplessly watched the person he loved pack up and leave. When she returned to Seoul, Kang Hee felt completely comfortable and free, but somehow her mind kept wandering around the name Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo was no better. He looked at the photos taken with Kang Hee when she was young, his heart full of thoughts. Sok Kyung was still stubbornly living in a motel in California. He even deliberately talked to Kang Hee on the phone in front of Yeon-soo. He pretended to ask Kang Hee very intimate questions. The following day in Seoul, Kang Hee was in a meeting and couldn't concentrate. After that, Kang Hee had an appointment with Esther to talk. Through this meeting, Kang Hee was awakened by Esther that the feeling that lasted longer than love was friendship. That was the eternal feeling, like the friendship between her and Sok Kyung. Hearing that, Kang Hee decided to return to Hana-up to see Yeon-soo. After that, she seriously suggested that instead of trying to forget each other, but missing each other even more, they should just be friends. Kang Hee then took out a box of ice cream and said that she wanted to share it with Yeon-soo as a friend. A moment later, Yeon-soo entered Kang Hee's room to get her spoon to eat the ice cream. Kang Hee was uncomfortable, so she told him to use another spoon. What friend would eat ice cream with the same spoon? Unexpectedly, Yeon-soo suddenly bent down and gave her a kiss. He even seriously asked if she could really be friends with him. He didn't want to just be friends with her. Then, he gradually made the kiss more intense. Kang Hee didn't refuse anymore. She accepted to be honest with both her body and heart. While the two were immersed in a sweet kiss, Chul Pil's familiar voice rang out from outside. He told his daughter to open the door for him. Kang Hee panicked and quickly pushed Yeon-soo away and told him to hide while she hurriedly cleaned the room. Later, while Kang Hee was talking to her father, Sok Kyung suddenly appeared. He even tried to barge into Kang Hee's room. However, Kang Hee quickly pulled him away. But in her mind, the intimate image between her and him just now kept appearing. She was worried whether he was angry with her or not. When Kang Hee returned to the room, Yeon-soo had already left. At this time, Yeon-soo in the next room also kept thinking about Kang Hee. He recalled the passionate kiss just now. At this time, Kang Hee called to meet Yeon-soo. After that, the two of them made a date on the rooftop. Here, Yeon-soo once again asked Kang Hee if she could be friends with him. But perhaps that kiss proved everything. Kang Hee still firmly denied it. She thought that the kiss was not a big deal, so they could still be normal friends. She also asked him if he had never done that with anyone since that night. Hearing that, Yeon-soo could only helplessly reply that if he had known she would leave, he would never have slept with her. Was it true that the first time meant nothing to her? Kang Hee objected and said that it was different then than now. Now, if the project was finished, she would still leave, and he would still stay in Hana-up. So let's stop. Yeon-soo helplessly looked at the girl he loved and had no choice but to say yes. In the following days, Yeon-soo deliberately turned away every time he saw Kang Hee. Even when Kang Hee took the initiative to go to Yeon-soo's veterinary hospital, with the excuse of drinking chrysanthemum tea, Yeon-soo just coldly made tea and told her to finish drinking it and leave quickly. This made Kang Hee disappointed. But when she saw Yeon-soo going out without a scarf, Kang Hee thoughtfully bought him one. She even brought it back to hang in front of his room. But later she saw him return it in front of her room. Kang Hee angrily knocked on Yeon-soo's door. She blamed him for being impolite. Yeon-soo angrily told Kang Hee to give the scarf to her boyfriend. Now Yeon-soo was like a hurt child. He even resolutely turned around and left. The next day, Nan Nanwoo went to the construction site to ask Kang Hee and Seok Kyung to help her build a cage for the donkey that had just been transferred to the Gwonth hospital. As soon as she saw Seok Kyung, Yeon-soo felt hostile. The two men immediately engaged in an underground war, from fighting over sawing wood to constantly attacking each other with words. Witnessing the scene, Kang Hee had no choice but to intervene. She quickly helped them design the donkey cage. She also took advantage of specialized tools and her professional techniques to complete the project quickly and beautifully. Nanwoo had to open her eyes wide in admiration when she saw it. Kang Hee just smiled slightly and explained that because she wanted to have her own house, she had been constantly researching and knowing over the years. Of course, in the design of the future house, there was a living room reserved for Yeon-soo. These sincere words not only did not move Yeon-soo, but he indifferently replied that maybe one day he would bring his wife and child to her house. This made Kang Hee angry. Kang Hee put her arm around Seok Kyung and lied that they had a date tonight, so she would leave first. As the night grew late, Yeon-soo was absorbed in reminiscing about her childhood memories. He still clearly remembered the day Kang Hee drew a house in the snow and the promise that she would build a shelter for the two of them with a separate room for Yeon-soo. The sadness rose up and made Yeon-soo seek alcohol to relieve herself. At the bar, Yeon-soo also saw Seok Kyung sitting at the same table with a strange girl. The two of them were even casually feeding each other. Yeon-soo couldn't hide his annoyance, so he immediately went up to Seok Kyung and asked her directly about the woman next to him and whether Kang Hee knew about this relationship. Esther knew there was a misunderstanding, so she quickly explained that the two of them were just friends. She was married and pregnant with her first child. Even Seok Kyung was surprised when he heard that. He hugged his best friend and congratulated her. After Esther left, Seok Kyung and Yeon-soo continued drinking. The two of them began arguing about who was better to Kang Hee. Seok Kyung confidently declared that in this world, as long as it was something Kang Hee wanted, he could fulfill it. Yeon-soo laughed when he heard that and thought that the person who wasn't often around Kang Hee but still thought about her was a truly good person. Every time he goes to a temple or church, he prays for Kang Hee's happiness. Seok Kyung immediately refutes. He believes that Kang Hee's happiness cannot be entrusted to the gods. Instead, he will personally bring her happiness. Seok Kyung also adds that Kang Hee is someone who doesn't like anyone to know about her past, and this is a weakness that she cannot overcome. The two of them argued fiercely and gradually became so drunk that they didn't know anything. When they woke up, Seok Kyung was surprised to find that he was hugging Yeon-soo sleeping on the bed. Both of them were shocked and swore that they had not done anything bad to the other person. After calming down, Seok Kyung expressed his desire to be friends with Yeon-soo. After a while of hesitation, Yeon-soo shook hands with Seok Kyung, but in his heart, he still considered Seok Kyung a rival. After that, Yeon-soo and Seok Kyung went to the construction site where Kang Hee was working. Yeon-soo told Kang Hee that they should be friends like Seok Kyung and Esther. He even reached out to shake hands with Kang Hee. Seok Kyung quickly pulled Kang Hee back and helped them shake hands while wishing their friendship would last forever. Nanwoo unexpectedly received a flower basket and concert tickets with the sender's name as Yeon-soo. Moreover, the theme of the concert was, "Do you want to marry me?" This made Nanwoo extremely worried. She immediately complained to Arom about whether Yeon-soo saw her as a replacement. When Yeon-soo heard about the flower basket and concert tickets, he quickly went to his mother. He asked why his mother did that on her own. His mother calmly replied that she needed him to speed up the marriage process. She was about to remarry. After hearing that, Yeon-soo could only helplessly leave. When it got dark, Kang Hee accidentally met Nanwoo and found out that the bouquet of flowers she was holding was given by Yeon-soo. Kang Hee was not very happy and congratulated Nanwoo on her happiness. But then when Kang Hee turned away, she couldn't control herself and kicked the can of water under her feet. Sung Yeon originally intended to give flowers to Arom but then stopped. He had to give the bouquet to Kang Hee to handle. Just then, Yeon-soo appeared. His eyes were fixed on the bouquet of flowers in Kang Hee's hand. He was about to turn around and leave, but Kang Hee called him back to scold him. She was about to say that he had never bought her flowers, but after a moment of hesitation, she changed her mind and told him not to give her flowers or his girlfriend would be jealous. The next day, the construction work was going smoothly, and Kang Hee also decided to return to Seoul for a few days. But unexpectedly on the bus, she happened to see Yeon-soo sitting here. Yeon-soo quickly explained that he had some things to take care of in Seoul. After that, the two of them chatted awkwardly. Yeon-soo asked Kang Hee how her life was in Seoul. Hearing that, Kang Hee couldn't help but sigh. To her, Seoul was like a wet cookie with no flavor. Then she suddenly recalled a childhood memory of the two of them. Back then, in their hometown, there was a guy who sold cookies. Every time they saw him, Kang Hee and Yeon-soo were worried that his cookies would have their floor problems. During the rainy season, the two of them worried that he would get wet, and during the hot summer, they were also afraid that the cookies would spoil. Right now, Sol in Kang Hee's eyes was like a wet cookie in the rainy season. The two of them talked until the car started moving. Kang Hee felt sleepy and put her head on Yeonsu's shoulder. Seeing this, Yeonsu pulled her to lean on his shoulder. After a while, Kang Hee woke up. She promised that she would find a way to repay him for lending her shoulder to sleep on. Yeonsu replied that she would show him around Seoul. Yeonsu also suggested that the place he wanted to go was Kang Hee's company. When the two got off the bus and took the subway, Yeonsu showed that he knew more about the subway in Seoul than Kang Hee. Then the two of them had dinner together as friends. Before the meal, Kang Hee tied her hair up. Seeing that, Yeonsu couldn't take her eyes off her. After eating, Kang Hee invited Yeonsu to visit her dormitory in Seoul. Looking at the spacious and warm room before her eyes, Kang Hee couldn't help but feel proud. She had to live very hard and had stayed in all kinds of boarding houses, from a damp basement room to this large room. Yeonsu gently patted Kang Hee's head and said that she had worked hard. He also encouraged her that even though she said Seoul was a damp cookie, she had successfully overcome all 4 seasons there. That moment made Kang Hee extremely emotional. She couldn't help but whisper to him. She asked him if it was okay for friends to kiss. Yeonsu couldn't answer, so she finally pushed Kang Hee away. He reminded her that friends don't kiss because it's too far. Kang Hee also came to her senses and suggested that the two of them drink together like friends. Then she stopped by a convenience store to buy alcohol. Kang Hee's eyes suddenly caught sight of a box of condoms on the shelf. Meanwhile, Yeonsu at home had just discovered that the light bulb was broken. He quickly called Kang Hee and hesitantly asked her to buy it for him. However, Kang Hee misunderstood him and quickly took a box of condoms. She thought to herself that the two of them really understood each other. When she got home, Kang Hee realized that what Yeonsu wanted to buy was a light bulb. She was embarrassed and lied that she thought he wanted to buy cup noodles. Yeonsu didn't think much about it and quickly ran to the convenience store to buy the light bulb, but his eyes were also attentively looking at the condom box on the shelf. When he got home, Yeonsu quickly changed the light bulb. Kang Hee saw it and was a little moved. She naturally looked at his sexy Adam's apple. After changing the light bulb, Yeonsu took out a flashlight. He sat down on the sofa next to Kang Hee and suddenly asked her if she wanted to sleep with him. Kang Hee was motionless and remembered the day they said goodbye 10 years ago. At that time, Kang Hee also asked Yeonsu a similar question. Now she was startled to realize that he was just joking. Kang Hee pinched Yeonsu's cheeks like before. After a few moments of intimate joking, Yeonsu quickly went to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and told himself that he and Kang Hee were just friends. However, after that, the two of them drank together and started to get drunk. At this time, Yeonsu suddenly pulled Kang Hee into his arms and said that if she liked him more than before, he would gain weight again. Kang Hee was not shy at all, as she touched him all over and said that in the past, all of this was flesh. Yeonsu could not hold back anymore and approached Kang Hee with the intention of kissing her, but Kang Hee quickly avoided him and made an excuse that she wanted to go to the bathroom. When she sprayed perfume and came out, she saw him lying unconscious on the floor because he was drunk. Kang Hee suddenly felt angry. The next morning, Kang Hee woke Yeonsu up with an annoyed expression. Yeonsu sat in the bathroom and kept blaming himself for being drunk and not being able to take the next step with the person he loved. Later, when Yeonsu went out for breakfast, he accidentally met Sok Kyung. He was confused when he saw Yeonsu at Kang Hee's house. He even guessed that the two had slept together. Yeonsu even deliberately admitted it, causing Kang Hee to quickly explain that the two had not done anything. But Sok Kyung was still very concerned, so he finally went to Esther to confide in her. Esther knew that Sok Kyung was jealous of Yeonsu, so she kept praising Yeonsu in front of him. She thought Yeonsu was handsome and very manly. Sok Kyung angrily affirmed that he would definitely win Kang Hee's heart. After finishing breakfast, Kang Hee got in the car alone because Yeonsu had another job. Suddenly, when she was in the car, Yeonsu knocked on the door and pulled her out. He also said that he wanted to stay in Seoul for another day with Kang Hee. He wanted to see if things would be different if he had gone to Seoul with her that day. Meanwhile, in the countryside, Yeonsu's mother received a text message from him saying that he couldn't go to the performance with Nan Woo. At the same time, he also sent a similar message to Nan Woo. His mother panicked and ran to the veteran veterinary hospital to hear that he had gone to Seoul since yesterday. She rushed to the construction site and also knew that Kang Hee had left Hana-Yu since yesterday. At the same time, Kang Hee was leading Yeon-soo to visit the small narrow room in the basement where she had lived during her poor days. Then the two of them lay on the small bed in front of them. Kang Hee lay on the edge of the bed and almost fell to the ground, but Yeon-soo caught her in time. On the narrow bed, the two of them hugged each other like lovers. At this moment, the landlord knocked on the door. The two of them quickly sat up, embarrassed, hiding their feelings. After visiting the house, the two of them went to the mall to play all kinds of games. Yeon-soo easily won every game. He also gave Kang Hee a cute teddy bear. The two of them even took a photo together, having a lot of fun. However, the joy was always short-lived. Kang Hee received a call from her best friend, but on the other end of the line was Yeon-soo's mother's voice. Yeon-soo's mother loudly scolded Kang Hee and did not allow her to be with Yeon-soo. Yeon-soo's mother asked Kang Hee to give the phone to Yeon-soo. While Kang Hee didn't know what she did wrong, Yeon-soo immediately pressed the call rejection button. Yeon-soo's mother went to Kang Hee's father and said that his daughter seduced her son. She also said that she had her reasons for doing so. That year, she also warned him to absolutely not let Kang Hee's mother and her husband meet, but he trusted her and said that they weren't that kind of relationship. And in the end, the two of them fell in love and ran away together in the middle of the night. If it hadn't happened, she and Yeon-soo's father would have been happy until now. Chun-pil frowned slightly and apologized, admitting that it was all his fault. The young couple's trip to Seoul quickly stopped. Kang Hee couldn't help but feel guilty when thinking about Yeon-soo's mother's anger, but Yeon-soo reassured her with a firm promise that he would explain carefully to his mother. As soon as they got off the car, as expected, his mother rushed over angrily, but Yeon-soo quickly pulled her mother back and tried to protect Kang Hee. The next day, Nan-woo discovered that the flowers and tickets were sent by Yeon-soo's mother. Suddenly, she couldn't help but feel disappointed. Nan-woo suggested to Yeon-soo that they clarify their relationship. However, Yeon-soo said that she should give him more time. When Kang Hee finished her work and left the village, he would explain, because he didn't want the villagers to blame Kang Hee for their breakup. Meanwhile, Yeon-soo's mother kept complaining to Chun-pil at the California motel that she didn't want Yeon-soo and Kang Hee to love each other. So in Hana-oh, people would gossip about her son. Chun-pil just gently asked her why she cared for her son so much. So why did she give her son all the responsibility of taking care of grandfather before, while she was busy with divorces several times? Did she know that her son had asked for leave of absence several times to take care of his sick grandfather? Yeon-soo's mother immediately became angry and asked Chul-pil if he remembered what he had promised her.